On February 4th, 2022, the Bureau of Labor Statistics reported that monthly jobs growth in January rose by 467,000 jobs. And considering that economists had forecast 150,000 new jobs, this was a big deal, and the White House was ready to celebrate. First, Joe Biden, United States government official, put out this tweet with an attached chart claiming last year was the greatest year of job creation in US history. Now, of course, this is dishonest. First off, these jobs were not created. These are jobs that have been recovered, because you might remember that the global economy was put into an artificial coma thanks to the global pandemic. As a result, in March and April 2020, the United States lost nearly 22 million jobs. Anyway, on Biden's chart, the white bar represents February 2021 to February 2022, Biden's first year in office. During that time, monthly job gains averaged 551,000 a month.
And over that period, our economy created 6.6 million jobs. 6.6 million jobs.
Yeah, it's all about the spin. But if you're going to claim that these jobs were created and not recovered, then by that metric, you'd have to say that President Trump created nearly 12.5 million jobs between May 2020 and January 2021. So the reality is that post-pandemic job growth under Trump was a rebound, and under Biden, it's a continuation of that rebound. But instead, Biden and his team have been trying to spin the jobs numbers to try and paint Joe Biden as some kind of economic savior.
Take a look at the chart. You can look at the last, all the way back to President Reagan. Look how many jobs we created in an average per month.
Look, job gains are good, obviously, but this chart and the way that Biden is presenting it is not meaningful. It's not even honest. Because by saying that this was the greatest year in jobs creation, it's suggesting that this chart represents the first year for each of these presidents. But the reality here is that Biden is comparing the monthly jobs average of his first 12 months in office and comparing it to the monthly average of Trump's entire 4 years, Obama's 8 years, George W. Bush's 8 years, etc. He's comparing his first 12 months in office with other presidents' entire terms in office. How is that even fair, you ask? Well, it's not. In fact, it's not even a proper comparison. I mean, you could compare Biden's first-year job numbers to Obama's first year, but that would require being honest. And of course, many people, including myself, would defend Obama by pointing out that he took office in the middle of a recession. So those job losses were not his fault. Now, his recovery, on the other hand, that's a different story.
You can't remember another year when so many people went to work in this country. There's a reason. It never happened.
And that's more than spin. That's a straight up lie. First, let's look at the labor force participation rate, which is the percentage of all people of working age who are employed or actively seeking work. The labor participation rate in January 2022 was at 62.2%, and that's lower than the 63.4% rate under Trump back in February 2020. Then there's the employment population ratio, which is the measure of all the people employed against the total working age population. In January 2022, it was 59.7%, while back in February 2020, it was at 61.2%. So clearly, when compared to pre-pandemic numbers, there are less people in the workforce. But Biden's gonna say that it's the most ever.
You can't remember another year when so many people went to work in this country. There's a reason. It never happened.
And of course, this is a ridiculous statement because there is currently a labor shortage. In fact, the economy is missing as many as 4 million workers who would likely be employed if it wasn't for the pandemic. And for those of you who are wondering about the unemployment rate itself, in January 2022, under Biden, it was at 4%. In February 2020, under President Trump, it was at 3.5%, which was a 50-year low. But don't pay attention to those substantive statistics. Look at the chart.
Take a look at the chart.
Now, all of this is nothing new. Biden has been spinning the jobs numbers like this since at least April 2021.
This morning, we've learned that our economy created 900,000 jobs in March. It means the first 2 months of our administration has seen more new jobs created than the first 2 months in any administration in history. More jobs in the first 100 days than any president on record. 1,500,000 new jobs since I took office. That's the most number of jobs created in the first 3 months of any presidency in our history. Total job creation in the first 7 months of my administration is nearly double any prior first-year president. In the first full 9 months of my administration, a record for any new president.
In the first 10 full months of my administration, the economy has created 6 million jobs, a record for a new president.
We have added 6.4 million new jobs since January. It's the most jobs in any calendar year by any president in history.
Do you see how slimy this is? You can't present job numbers from the first few months of your presidency and take credit for it.
We're now the first administration in history to add jobs every single month in our first 6 months in office.
So for clarity, Joe Biden and whoever typed up that speech in the teleprompter are claiming that every president ever had job losses during their first 6 months, except for him. But of course, that's a lie. And we don't even have to go that far back into history to prove it. During President Trump's first 6 months in office, jobs were added every single month at an average of 190,000. In fact, from February 2017 to February 2020, there was always a gain. And it wasn't until the pandemic hit that there was ever a loss. Now, Biden can spin the jobs numbers any way he likes. But here's the thing. No one is buying it. And this is very apparent when you look at his approval rating. For example, on February 4th, the day that Biden showed off his bullshit chart, his average job approval rating was in the toilet, with an approval rating of only 41.3% and a disapproval rating of 54.4%. Now, let's see Trump's polling average at the same exact point in his presidency. On February 4th, 2018, Trump's approval rating was at 42.2%, with a disapproval rating of 53.9%. So to clarify, Biden's approval rating 380 days into his first term are worse than Trump's were at the same point in his presidency.
How did that happen?
Because you're terrible. Anyway, that's it for now. Be sure that you're still subscribed to the channel. Check out these videos that you may have missed. And as always, I hope to see you next time. If there is next time.